Greetings, Starcraft enthusiasts, and welcome back to Day 2, Group A, Game 2, between the Red Protoss, spawning here at the 3 o'clock position on Lost Temple, WhiteRa, which is also under the name Duckload Ra right now. And his opponent, once again, is Omar, the green Zerg, spawning here at the 6 o'clock position. And as you all know, this is part of the SC2casts.com's first invitational, sponsored and brought to you, of course, by SC2casts.com. So check out their website for all the most recent casts, commentators, events, and pro games. And I am Shiki SC. Thanks for tuning in. And another ZVP here on Lost Temple. And once again, I was absolutely surprised by the sturdy play of Omar. He seemed to have his composure very well against opponents like WhiteRa, and he came out with a fantastic 2-base Hydralisk build, kept his cool when the Void Rays were coming in, cornered them, and focus fired them down so that they couldn't cause any significant damage. And WhiteRa might have been just taken a little bit off guard there with the Hydralisk play in the 2-base and wasn't preparing for a mid-game. Thought he could win with that all-in push, but unfortunately he did lose that, so he's going to need to come up with something to combat Omar here in Game 2 so that he can make it to a Game 3 and pull another win out. So we'll have to see what happens. And already WhiteRa kind of showing his cards, putting them on the table. Putting his first pylon out here at his natural expansion and putting up a gateway. This clearly says he's going to make his wall off here. Whether he finishes that wall or not, I'm not too sure. Both ways are done, or are performed, or whatever you want to call it. But it looks more like he's going to be doing some aggression, since he is putting down 2 gateways instead of Gateway Forge, or even Gateway Cyber. But Gateway Forge and then cannons is usually the defensive way to get up your early expansion with Protoss. And as it looks, if he keeps this up, he may have his expansion up before Omar does, which is something you don't see very often against the Zerg player, where Protoss has the expansion up first. Second pylon finishing and second gateway almost finished, and Zealots immediately being chrono boosted out. We are going to see some early aggression here by WhiteRa, and Omar's spawning pool, probably from this probe, already lost almost 200 hit points. So maybe this is WhiteRa's tactic. Maybe he's going to come in here, destroy the Zerglings, and then maybe take out that spawning pool and look for an early win. Well, kind of would throw me off guard, that's for sure. But the little probe here with the minerals in his face and the one Zealot are going to be already advancing into Omar's base. Second Zealot is being reinforced with. And Omar has 4 additional Zerglings. 1 is already killed, so he's only left with 5. But lo and behold, the Queen is out, so he is going to be able to defend against this. Unless WhiteRa's chrono boosting more and more Zealots out, he is. So he is chrono boosting, and now he's putting down his Forge, preparing to defend and maybe transfer into a mid-game. So I don't think he's going for any all-in game style. He's not looking to take the game right here. He's just looking to throw Omar off his game, and these Zealots do so well against Zerglings. They do even better with the 1 attack upgrade. WhiteRa nicely microing this injured Zealot back so that the other 2 can take the brunt of the damage, and this 1 Zealot is going to get taken out. Quickly focus fired down by Omar. That is a sign of a good player. He's got his health bars on. He's watching what's happening and taking out the Zealots as quickly as he can. So fending off this attack, units lost tab, they are about even. But all this time, it has allowed WhiteRa to get up his Forge. He's probably going to put up a cannon and then wait for his minerals to get high and load up on an expansion. But Omar coming in now with the metabolic boost being finished, losing 2 Zerglings to these 3 Zealots, but 1 does get in, and he is going to get to see if there is a Cybernetics core or anything coming up yet. He doesn't see anything, so he is going to suspect early expansion, and that is what WhiteRa's doing. Roach is already out on the field for Omar. Roaches will be able to micro enough away from these Zealots and probably get a kill or 2, but they definitely need to focus fire down. 2 more Roaches reinforcing, and this could be trouble for WhiteRa. He may lose all of these Zealots. Smart move here by controlling them and keeping them after the Roaches, as it will allow him to get a cannon up here at the front of his base so that he can retreat, right about now, and allow him to get behind that cannon for safety, and these Roaches will be forced to return to their base as well. Or he may even want them to use them to control the Xel'Naga Watchtower. Sorry, WhiteRa trying to do a little bit of a fancy trick by pulling his zealots around to the back and trying to kind of do a pincer attack here on Omar's roaches, but Omar was a little bit too aware of that, and he was able to find the zealots and chase them around a little bit more. One is almost dead. The second is also about half life, but the shields are now recharging. Good job getting that one out of damage, but tons of Zerglings here that are able to chase down these Zealots, and the Zealots are going to be forced to fight and cause as much damage as they can, losing a couple Zerglings, but just not enough. Omar now getting up a Baneling nest, so he is going to be going for some kind of Baneling bust, or maybe he's just going to incorporate the Banelings into his army against the Zealots. Probably leaning more towards the bust, but we'll wait and see what happens. Meanwhile, WhiteRa now looks like he is continually pumping probes, getting a little bit of a transfer, although I probably would have transferred a little bit more. His gas is just now started, so his assimilators were not even produced yet at this point, or up till now, and there is only one probe in there right now, so a little bit behind on gas. Omar's overlords are still keeping tabs on what's going on, and he does see these warp gates are still pumping out and chrono boosting zealots. So he knows there's some kind of aggression coming up, as the rally point for them is already out in the middle of the field. Omar, of course, doesn't see the zealots beyond that, so he has no idea where they are. And oh, that's a ton of Banelings. 17 Banelings waiting for these zealots to kind of come closer, and once they get closer, oh, look at all the zealots just crumbling. These Banelings, that was a waste of a few Banelings there. But these zealots now are completely dead, and he's still got, looks like, 6 Banelings left. So I'm not sure if that was a great trade-off, but nonetheless, it does put WhiteRa on his back foot, and it looks like the Banelings did take out those two. Oh, wow. Yeah, they took out the 2 pylons that were there and the cannon. Third cannon gets destroyed, but WhiteRa does fend off the attack. 2 Zerglings do retreat, but he is going to run by a bunch more. No, he's not going to run by. He's just going to stop and take out all of these probes. But another Zealot and a Sentry here, the first one in the field, is going to be able to hold this off, and the cannon is being reproduced, so he can keep up the defensive and probably probe up a little bit more. Meanwhile, it seems like the roles have completely reversed from the last game, whereas Omar is trying to do a one-base build and try to take WhiteRa out ASAP, and WhiteRa is trying to play more for the mid-game this time. But I'm not sure which is going to come out on top. Actually, it looks like Omar's now putting up his expansion. So he was saving up quite a bit of minerals. He's got a couple hundred minerals and gas in the bank. Way behind on his spawn larva. He's actually got almost 70 energy extra right now. Probably needs to pump out a couple creep tumors and get the creep extending to his natural. You want that done ASAP, especially on maps where your natural expansion is a fair ways away. And oh, he's reading my mind, or I'm just psychic, one of the two. Putting down that creep tumor, probably could have put 2 to advance that creep a little bit faster. One lone Zergling here in WhiteRa's base is gonna get killed, but it looked like he did have a probe kill or 2. So a little bit of harassment there with that one Zergling, or maybe it was just scouting around. But he's not going to see anything too peculiar, as WhiteRa seems to be playing pretty standard and pretty safe. He's now got Warp Gate tech and no Forge upgrades yet. But he is going to be putting a pylon down, it looks like on the high ground. Or no, he cancelled it. Eating my own words here, WhiteRa. Thank you. WhiteRa making great use of his Chrono Boost. He's just now up to 25 energy. Before then, he was just continually Chrono Boosting probes out, keeping the probe production up to get his economy going. Probably needs to take a 4th gas and either add on some more gateways or add on a robotics facility. But doesn't seem to be doing either of the 2 right now. Still working off just the 3 gates. And it looks like he's going to be doing a push out here. So does he know that? No, he doesn't know that Omar expanded, but because the harassment stopped, he probably can guess that that is what's happening, that Omar's taken his base, and it looks like Omar does see this now, and he's putting up 2 spine crawlers. They are going to finish in time, but he doesn't have enough units. He's only got 5 Zerglings here to support it. The second queen is coming down to help, and don't think it's going to be enough. Guardian Shield going down, and that's going to be really helpful. for these Stalkers. He needs to use these Spine Crawlers and focus on the Stalkers, as they do plus damage to Armored, and the obviously Stalkers do plus damage to Armored as well. And this looks to be a little bit too much for Omar to handle right now. The Guardian Shield has worn off, but there are no ranged units left. A force field going down on the ramp, and Omar is forced to GG. So the series is now tied 1-1, and Omar's picked Metalopolis, which tends to be a Zerg-favored map. So I think we're in for a very, very close Game 3. Stay tuned for the match on Metalopolis.